bit of type in here. Welcome to Visual Web. Montserrat's a very popular one, a very popular web font. I tend to veer towards Montserrat and Open Sans. So let's say this is our headline. I'd like our headline to be in bold, and I want it to be massive. Same as our regular type tools. We have our kerning, we have our space after, and we have our leading. So all the same things that work here or work in all your other favorite programs are here. And then maybe this is going to be by body copy. Let's go 30 or let's say 20. Maybe a subhead. Maybe a semi-bold. So I'm really liking like this. I want to make sure that anytime you do a headline, I want to make sure that it's centered. This will be, say, centered as well. And then maybe this is just regular left align. Same as our color palettes. So now we don't want to do a clown college of fonts and font sizes and font weights. We want to make sure that everything stays nice and consistent throughout. Drag, click and drag across those, and we hit our plus sign. So now all of those fonts and font sizes are saved. We do not need to reinvent anything while we're going through our site. And more importantly, now everything has a consistent look and feel. So let's go again. Welcome to Visual Web. Oops. And I want this to be in the headline font, or actually, no, I want that to be the body copy. I want that to be sub. And then we can go subhead, or we would call this H2, H1, oopsies, etc. Okay. Again, components we don't need to worry about at this stage of things. No point bunging up our brains there. One of the big things I did want to show you though is our grids, because when we are designing, you won't need to worry about this for this assignment, or you might want to, but you always want to design things on a grid. It helps keep all of your alignment. I am very, very particular with how things align. I like something to align with another. So utilizing that grid, especially in web, we kind of have our buckets of information and we need things to look clean and consistent. So we turn that grid on. This doesn't have to say, if you could Command Shift apostrophe, it turns it off, just like your guides in Illustrator and such. And here's where you can adjust. So I actually want to do an 8 column. I want to have an 8 gutter, and my column width that is going to use those numbers and base it off of that. Let's say 16 is our margins. Sometimes the numbers take a little bit of crazy calculations, but generally if you stick to here and you're like, I want to do a 6 column grid, and then adjust your gutter, you're good to go. So again, quite important to use. Let's turn that off. Are we catching this? Am I going too fast or too slow, or is this like a good little jump in? We feeling okay? Fantastic. Okay, so when I mention our screen size, so right now, currently our screen size is 428 by 926, but we all know that most websites are going to scroll, especially when we're on our phones. So that means that your information is going to go below here. If we click on that text and we grab this little arm and drag this, now we can make that website as long as we possibly want. This little line here we call the fold. That's essentially the bottom of that 926. So when you're looking at your phone, you can actually move this, but I strongly suggest you do not move it, because this is going to show you when you start designing where the bottom of your screen in fact is. So you know that, okay, especially when you're doing your desktop, for the most part, if you have very important information, you want to make sure it's above that fold. Same thing with your phone. Very important information, because your screen sizes can vary. Keep it quite well above that fold. So again, you can move this, but I suggest you do not. And that's where you can, this is that section that you can make that screen as large or as small as you possibly want. Our pen tool. Our pen tool works just the same as it does in Illustrator. We've got our arms. Click and we can adjust. And now we've got some weird, insane looking shape. Okay. To bring an image in. So if you're like, I found a picture, how do I get that in there? You can do it several different ways. You can grab that photo and you can literally just drag it straight in there. Then we scale it down. We can double click and we can enlarge just the photo. And if we just regular click, we're adjusting the size of the shape. So kind of like you're clipping masks. You can also do that by, so say you're like, I want a picture to be right here. Well, I'll leave that border on there. I could take this, drag it, and when that highlights blue, it means I've popped it in there. And then again, I can adjust this. Oh, I kind of want that to be a little bit larger. Maybe I want some interesting crop, etc. And the same thing goes if you build out some weird shape. When you build a weird shape, it'll highlight when you drag it onto the outline of that. Okay. So that's bringing how to bring an image in there. Back to creating a nice basic box. Some more features over here. So our appearance, just as you know, there's our transparency, and then we also have all of our overlays and effects here. Here as well is where you can round your corners. So if you say want a 50 pixel curve on there, if you click this little side, you can adjust. So I actually want 10 on this side and 10 on that side. You can actually physically see if you click in here, it's showing that little blue line it's highlighting. So we're adjusting that corner. I click here, we're adjusting this corner. That's where you could do it separate. Just like Illustrator, you can also do it by clicking these little suckers. I showed you fill and borders, so that's nice and easy. Your effects, so your inner shadows, works the same way. You've got your X and your Y axis and then how much blur you want on there, and the same as in a drop shadow as well. Background blur, won't need to worry about that quite yet. And don't worry about the mark for export. When we are coloring, so say I want to add a nice, beautiful color on the back of this. I'm thinking like, that's a bit flat. I can also adjust my transparency here, but I can also, in fact, do a gradient. So if I click, maybe I want to take a gradient from my 2 color palettes. And then same as an Illustrator, I can adjust the direction it's going in, how far up and down I want that to go. And then when you're on your color, there's obviously your color code as well from here, but because we're in a mid-range, that's why it's showing up as a different color code. It's basing it off of this one. Okay, so and let's just go into our plugins again. So say, again, we want to add a coffee cup and enlarge it. Like I said, this is now a vector. So if you double click that object, now you get all those points. So say you're like, I don't really want the saucer. I'd really like to just have the cup. I can literally go in and adjust those. And then I can go back over here to my components and I can change it to the color that I want. And then you can bring that up or down. I can also say, go over here and you're like, all right, these are all all grouped up. So you can access them by either just like you would Command Shift ungroup, or you can do it by, if you double click a few times, you can get into those elements. So let's say I want to add, this is going to be my navigation. I'm not really a fan of that, but let's just pop it in there so we can start to literally build out some. Maybe we're going to have a nav view this way. Oh my goodness. Sometimes they are a bit tricky to grab. Here, maybe we're going to, this is maybe a coffee shop. And we want to put some icons. This is definitely not the colors we should be working with on top. There's not enough contrast. Etc. So now you can kind of see we're literally almost building out a little app. Okay. Again, just a disclaimer, these two colors do not work on top of each other. There's not enough contrast and that shouldn't be done. Always making sure our sizes are consistent. So again, I do see that sometimes where sadly, it's like, oh, here's my home button, and there's your other, and you're like, whoa, we're really favoring that coffee cup. So let's make sure that we keep things the same size. So always using our transform tools, keep it locked up. I know I want this to now, let's say I want this to actually be 27 pixels high, which means I'm going to want to make my house, same thing, lock it up, keep your proportions the same, my house. So now everything is going to be aligned and everything is going to build upon the same shape. That's all. Anyone bored of listening?